Welcome back to the show, everybody. Before we get to our guest, I have an exciting announcement to make. We're going to be rebranding the Athletic Fortitude Show into the Playbook with Colin Johnov. Don't worry, going to be the same types of conversations, the same great messaging. We're just going to be expanding the type of people that we interview with, and we want to make sure that we are hitting all walks of life, all stories from anybody who's achieved anything extraordinary. We want to be able to get their messaging to you so that you can learn from them, apply what they tell us in the show, and then you can apply it into your own lives and achieve your own version of what extraordinary is. And with that said, today's guest, Habakkuk Baldonado. Haba, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do you remember our first conversation as teammates? Probably not. It's probably insignificant.
No, it's not. I wouldn't say it's insignificant. I just don't remember it.
So the first thing when I found out you were from Italy that I asked you was, why on earth did you not play soccer instead of football? And your response, honestly, has stuck with me. It was because you said if you weren't essentially labeled as a professional by 12 years old, that you didn't have a chance to play professional soccer.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it is in Italy. The sport, soccer is the main sport around here, and kids start playing since they're like 2, 3 years old. So if by the age of 14, 15, you already know if you're gonna make it to a big team in the big leagues. And I was definitely not gonna make it in Italy. Maybe in the US, but not in Italy. So I had to switch sport.
Do you feel the pressure as a young kid knowing that, hey, if I'm not one of the best in the world at 14 years old, my professional dreams are shot?
I wouldn't say so. The beautiful thing about soccer is that even if you don't make it to the pros, it's a sport that you can play forever. Like even kids that are not pros or adults, maybe you go to the park, you just bring a soccer ball, you do a 3-on-3, and just have some fun. Which with football you can't do. You're not gonna bring pad and helmets to the park and just do a 3-on-3.
Um, so like, what is the environment around like youth soccer out there? Like, is it I can imagine it's pretty intense.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition. There's so many teams, um, so many opportunities. The huge thing that is different between Italy and the US is that we don't play sport in schools. So everybody plays club soccer. So we only have club teams after school in the afternoon or whatever. And yeah, it's really competitive. There's a lot of parents that are really on top of their kids because they spend money. It's a pretty expensive sport and whatever. You gotta go around every weekend for the games because it's many more games than just football. And then a lot of kids, they just either go to private school for high school or some drop out of school third year high school. So, because
Was it pretty easy for you to identify like, okay, like these guys are different, like they're going to play professional?
there's a couple guys, I have not played to any guys that really made it big, but there's a couple guys that made it, that were pretty close that you can tell on the field, yeah. Like since they're younger, like the way they move, the way they juggle and shoot or whatever, you like, yeah, that kid
It,
is good.
is it like a skill thing? Because I mean, for our listeners, like Bob was like as athletic as it gets for a human being. So like, is it like a skill thing? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, there's a lot involved because depending on the position, there's a lot of skills involved in soccer. First, like, you're, because you play a sport with your feet, not really with your hands like football. So, in my opinion, it's pretty hard to be able to run full speed, stop full speed, and do all that while you have a ball between your feet and not get the ball taken and be able to score a goal. That's why it's such a low scoring game because it's complicated. And at the top, you can see that those people have some skills that nobody else in the world has.
So I know you first started watching football on like Sky Sports.
Yeah.
What was it about football where you're like, hey, maybe I could make a life or a career out of doing that when having never played before?
I never started it thinking, I'm gonna make a career out of it. I'm gonna become pro. Like being pro was never a dream. Actually, when I started, I knew I was like, I knew it was impossible. Basically, like a kid from Italy making it pro in American football, where there's millions of kids that play in the U.S. since they're pee wee, since they're 5, 6. So I only started playing for the love of it, and I started liking it because it was ridiculous. Honestly, I saw on TV. I know everybody has seen that the YouTube highlight tapes. Here comes the boom with all the big hits, and everybody's seen that. And I was looking at that, and I'm like, it just looks insane, and I'm down for it. I want to do it. So I went ahead and found the team and started it.
So when did you decide it was worth coming to America in order to pursue playing more?
Uh, to be honest, almost immediately. Well, I started when I was about 11, 12. Lasted about a month. Not a lot of people know that. Because the team was far, and my dad had to drive me there after work and stuff like that. So it was an expensive sport. It was a hustle, and it was a club team that trained. Most of them were grown men, so they had to train late at night after work. So every practice was from 8 to 10 p.m., and then I had school the next day. So it was just incredibly difficult. So I lasted about a month, and then I quit, went back into fighting and whatnot. And then a couple years after, they brought me back thanks to one of my great friends. He convinced me to go back because the team had got closer to where I lived, and I had a scooter at the time. Because in Italy, when you're 14 years old, you can get a scooter. So I started just driving myself and handling everything by myself, and it made it easier. And yeah, I started when I was about 16. So I just played 1 year, and then I got offered a chance to come over to the U.S. And if you play the sport, you know that it's American football, so you have to go to the U.S. to play at the highest level, or if you want to compete, a bare minimum. Because here in Italy, I was already becoming a little decent, so that was the dream, and I just made the jump right away.
What was the process of getting recruited to come to America? Did you do research and reach out here? Did they find you?
Yeah, it wasn't really recruitment. There was a coach here in Italy that had contacts with the high school head coach back there in Florida, because that's where I first went. And I guess the coach in Italy recognized a little bit of talent in me and put me in contact with a coach in Florida, and they saw my tape, they liked what they saw, and they were willing to have me on their team.
How difficult was that transition coming from Italy to America?
It wasn't too hard. In the terms of sport, here in Italy, I was playing what is called Serie A, which is the major league kind of. It's still not a pro league, so people don't get paid. It's not huge, but it's the main league where the age group that can play is between 19 years old and how old do you like? So there's people 30, 35, 40 years old. So when I was 17, I was already pretty good, and I joined that league. Yeah, because my team bumped me up, let's say, because I was doing pretty decent. So I was already playing against grown men with grown man strength. And when I went back to play in high school, I was playing with kids again, even though the skill level might have been a little different because I didn't have maybe the same skills as somebody that had played for years. I still got used to it pretty quick because you know playing against grown men gonna teach you a lot.
How was it culturally? Was it a culture shock when you came over here?
Yeah, that was certainly different. I was about to say that might be the hardest part that I had to get adjusted to. Everything bigger, everything faster, everybody about to hustle, never resting. The places were different. I had to learn how to properly speak English because at the time my English wasn't as good as it is now. I guess we can say it wasn't the best. So I had to learn, and at the same time I had to adjust to the new school, new ways of teaching. Um, all new people. I had to live with a host family because at the time I was 17, so I couldn't live by myself. But everything was smooth. The U.S. are pretty. How can I say? It's not an insane country. Like it's pretty easy to get adjusted to. Great.
How did you handle that, emotionally as a 17-year-old kid coming to a completely different country without your family and essentially, a new level of sport, and you had to just adjust. Like, how did you deal with that?
It was sick. I was living. Like, yes, I went to school and whatnot. School in Italy is insanely hard. Like, you have a homework all the time. It's from 8 a.m. until 3 or 4 p.m. every day, 8 hours. It's a lot. Like, no sports, nothing. So it's a lot. So going to school in the U.S., I don't want to hate on it, but it was a little easier. So I didn't need to study really much because it was already stuff that I had done already in Italy. And I was basically just playing football, balling. I was loving it because I went from Italy, where sport was a side thing that you could do after school if you did your school good enough, and you had to do late at night. And it was like maybe 2, 3 days a week to just living, breathing, eating football, the sport I loved, being able to improve my craft, and just living in Florida next to the beach, always sunny. It was beautiful.
So, what do you think breeds a better level of competitive athlete? The way American sports does it, or the way that Europe does it?
I would say the way the U.S. do it. There's there's a different intensity to it. There's a different approach to sports. There's a little different mindset behind it. You know, in Italy, I believe is I don't know if soft is the word, but it's way softer. It's not as like they're not emphasizing sports. Like in the U.S., you realize that you can make a career out of sports in whatever sport you want. It's swimming, wrestling, football, because you can get a D1 scholarship, which is a huge deal. Because basically playing D1 is like playing pro. This it's pro sports, really. Basketball, football, baseball. You can say whatever you want to say. Before we didn't used to get paid or whatever. Now they're even getting paid insane amounts of money. So it's basically just pro sports. Whereas here in Italy, it's like either soccer or you just do some recreational stuff. A couple of sports are getting bigger, like basketball, rugby, but it's not something you can really make a crazy living like the major leagues in the U.S. So people know that that's not really a possibility. They play sports just to play sports. They're not really like into it all day, every day. Whereas in the U.S., it's like it's a dream. It's a part of your culture, and everything.
Do you think if like the American culture applied the same intensity to soccer development, that we could produce more world class soccer players? Or do you think that because there's this, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, culture environment around soccer over in Europe where you're kind of bred to be a soccer player, that you've inherited those skills from previous generations? I know that there's studies out there that suggest that. Or do you think if Americans took the same approach to soccer that they take to football, that we could also produce some world class soccer players?
But as you said, for sure, the history of it has it plays a little role into it. So like even the kids are coming up now playing soccer in Italy, learn from the best that came before. They know, like they get all the teaching, they get all the knowledge, but the skill in terms of just like skill wise, those are skills that a lot of people can have. The issue that, in my opinion, you have in the U.S. is that first of all, soccer is not a major sport, so there's not a lot of kids that are going to start playing when they're 2, 3 because there's so many different sports. You have a bigger population, so there's more kids, but still, soccer is not really the main goal for a lot of kids. And then that's the thing. There's just so many different sports, and it's not that much into your culture, so you don't really have a older generation that can teach all the skills, all the stuff that it's so into it. But in my opinion, if say tomorrow people drop football or basketball and just everybody start going insane about soccer, for sure. Like the U.S. could be an insane national team with all the talent, all the athletes that there are. Like teach them the soccer skills, and the team will be unstoppable.
When did you first realize in America that you're like, okay, I have a chance to play Division 1 football or maybe even professional?
It was super gradual. When I first moved from Italy, I went to the U.S. with the idea of just being there for 6 months. Uh, we said I'm gonna go there for 6 months, do the school stuff, and then in Christmas I'll be back, and then we'll see. Maybe I'll be back for good, or maybe I'll go back. So after 6 months, I actually came back. Um, Before that, I received a bunch of. It started going from D3 to D2 offers to D1 FCS. When I got my first D1 FCS school offer, I thought I made it. Like I'm good, I'm great, best Italian ever. And so it was beautiful. And I came back here in December for Christmas. And I remember at some point while I was about to sign for my first FBS, actually offer, Coastal Carolina, I received a call from Oregon, Jim Levitt, that was like, don't sign, we're going to offer. And then after that, like 20, 30 schools, do you want to start offering and whatnot in January, February? Visited a bunch and ended up at Pitt. So even that, I didn't know I was going to get there. I just gave it my all, and I was like, that's all you can do. Like, you can just do your best, and if something happens, happens. If it doesn't, then life is good.
Why on earth did you come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to play college football?
A lot of people ask me that, and I ask myself that too. A lot of times. Really, like, a great reason. A funny story was that I don't know if I can say it here, but when I went during the process, as I said, I received most of my offers January and February, and we had to sign, I believe, like February 7th or like the beginning of February, something like that. So I was receiving 3-4 offers a day from schools and places I'd never heard. Like I didn't know what Nebraska or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, like I didn't know what that was. I didn't know like the prestigious schools. I didn't really know anything about the conferences. I didn't grow up watching football, so no hate on anything. I just didn't know. I knew about FSU, Clemson, and like couple other schools. And so it was super cool. So I was learning about the U.S. I was learning about the maps, the places, the history, and for some reason, Coach Narduzzi and Harley, they really stuck with me. I like them as people, and so we scheduled a visit. And then the week of the visit, I wasn't even going to go to Pittsburgh because I was sick. I had like a fever, I had a flu, 104 degrees or something like that. So I called him and I was like, I'm not coming to Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, because I knew I wasn't going to go to Pittsburgh. I wasn't interested. I didn't know where it was. I just really liked the people. I thought they were super cool. and and on the phone, I told Harley, I was like, I can't come. I'm sorry, Coach. He said, "Oh, you're not gonna come. Only you're gonna ruin your future just for a flu, for a cold. Are you a pussy?" And I was like, "Nobody in this world can call me a pussy. Like, get me that flight. I'm coming. I don't care." That's the only reason why I visited Pittsburgh. It's crazy, isn't it? Because like Michigan State, I was really close to go to Michigan State. They flew my mom from Rome all the way to East Lansing, Michigan,
Wow.
for a weekend to come. And I remember when we were leaving Michigan State, actually Narduzzi called, and my mom was like, "Who's that?" I was like, "I don't know. It's just a guy, another one of these coaches." Over there, and so that was funny. But yeah, I really liked them, and they stuck with me. I stuck with them. And then when I visited a bunch of places, and all of the places brought me to parties and stuff like that, like UCF or Michigan State. And first of all, I was born in the city, so I can't really live in the middle of nowhere. Like, I knew I would have hated my life as much as I love football, whatever. So Pittsburgh was in the city, and then, funny enough, I visited at Pitt was not that much fun. Like there was not that much party. It was like cool. If I go to a huge party in school, I'm probably not gonna focus. So Pittsburgh is good. It's in the city. There's a lot of stuff to see, to do, big Italian culture, and then it's not a huge party school. So I can't focus on football and school because at the time I wanted to do engineering, and that's why I picked Pitt. It's a weird way, but it happened.
It's just funny because, like, obviously, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, grew up a massive Pitt fan. So, like, the reason I ended up at Pitt, pretty evident, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even now, like, I mean, 2 days ago, it was like 30 degrees in April. And I'm like, why do I live in Pittsburgh? Like, why am I here? I'm like, I should be in Florida or just about anywhere else other than Pittsburgh. And so I always find it interesting how people like yourself who have offers everywhere end up at Pitt. And this is a pro Pitt podcast. I've had multiple Pitt guys. Everybody should go to the University of Pittsburgh.
Sure.
Winning culture. But I always find it interesting.
But that's the thing. Like once I got to Pitt and actually got to like realize what it actually was, the city of Pittsburgh is insane. There's like a lot of history. There's a lot of stuff to do. Amazing restaurants. For some reason, every artist that has a U.S. tour stops in Pittsburgh. There's all the pro teams. There's the Steelers, the Penguins. There's the Pirates. Beautiful stadiums. There's all the colleges. So many students. I don't know. I didn't know about the city, but then you start realizing a lot of people came from Pittsburgh. It's just a special city for some reason.
How awesome was it to throw out the first pitch for the Pirates?
That was a fun experience. I had never done anything like that. I never played baseball growing up, so I didn't even know. I was like, I'm gonna just throw these things and see how it goes. But it was amazing. Like as I always say, their stadium is probably one of my favorite in the world. Just beautiful, man, with that skyline in the back, right above the river. It's crazy. So it was a fun experience meeting the owner, all the Pirates, all the players.
How did that come to be? Like, how were you chosen? And like, I know it was like Pitt Day, but how did that all happen?
I don't know. Dudes asked me. Interested in throwing the first pitch? I was like, I guess he was trying to make up because they didn't invite me to the ACC media day. They invited other people, so that was his way to say sorry, I guess.
Now, do you ever regret coming back to Pitt for that final year because you have the best year of your career, decide to come back to improve your draft stock, doesn't go the way that you want, battle some injuries? Talk to me about that process a little bit.
You know that was a rough that was a rough period. I still dwell about it a bunch. In my life, I don't really like to regret anything because it is what it is. I'm right here because of all the choices that I made and the choices I didn't make. But that was a tough one. Because as you said, at the time, my junior year was my best year. Double-digit sacks, double-digit TFLs. We won the ACC championship. I had a lot of amazing players. And so I was about to leave. Like a lot of people knew I was about to leave. I already had talk with people, I was all set. And I'm a big team guy. So I'm never going to step away from the team. That's why I play during the bowl game. And I trust the coaches, their dudes, the people, Partridge. So I spoke to them a little bit. A lot of people suggested that I should have left, which in football, it's hard because we always think maybe I can come back next year and make it better and do I have a better year. But you got to think that football is a hard sport. A lot of people get injured. Like you're just a play away to be done with the sport for your whole life. So maybe the continuing pushing back and trying to do better every year is not the smartest. But as I said, at the time I was undecided. I decided to play in the bowl game. Last 2 minutes of the bowl game, it's the last game of the year, I got hurt. My elbow came out, and I took that as a sign of faith. That's faith. They're telling me to stay one more year and try to improve my stock and then just leave the next year. So I wouldn't say I regret it. I think about it a lot. It's one of the few things in my life that it's constantly on my mind, especially for the past couple of years. And hindsight is always 2020. December of 2021, being top 3 rounds in the 2023 sounded amazing. So you don't know what's going to happen, and you make the choices accordingly. Now it's 4 years after we realize what actually happened.
It's such a nuanced discussion, and it's really challenging for anybody going through that process. And every athlete deserves the grace from the fan base, from the university, from coaching staffs to make the decision that they feel is best for them. You hope that they get the best advice and they have the right mentors and people in their life that can help them make that decision. But that is a really difficult decision because, like you just said, you're coming off an ACC championship game, double-digit sacks, double-digit tackles for loss. Your stock is soaring, But you have this opportunity to come back and say, hey, maybe I can improve this. Maybe I can get this a little bit better. And as a competitor, you're never going to think like, oh, I'm going to do worse next year, right? The mindset is always, I'm going to do better, or at least, relatively it should be. But in that same breath, it's like you said, there is a lot of variability. There's things outside of your control. You can get hurt. The team could perform worse. That could directly impact you. If you guys are blowing teams out more, you may not play as much in the fourth quarter and have less snaps to make impact plays. And so there's so much that goes into the decision making, and it's hard. It's hard. And then you make a decision and you have to make that the right decision. And that's the part where I empathize with you, because you made the decision to come back. And then the team next year has a really down year. There's some quarterback controversy. The team underperforms. There's injuries. And talk to me a little bit about how challenging it was going through that year, knowing essentially the decision you had made and what you may have lost in your decision.
Yeah, that's hard even mentally preparing for the next season and going through the next season because, as you said, there's a lot to it. The team, the scouts, the NFL, what they say, what this person says. There's so much that it's out of your own like judgment. It's just like flipping a coin. Maybe it's yes, maybe it's no. Um, it's not one of those situations where you've been a starter for 3 years, you had double-digit sacks for 3 years, so for sure. It's one of this situation where it could go both ways. So preparing for the season, you're always preparing with this mindset that I'm going to do better next season, so I want to just go as hard as I can. But again, you're coming off an injury because in December I got hurt, so you don't have the same amount of time because you need to go through rehab. You can't step on the field right away and whatnot. And then the team has problems, maybe the quarterback, which people don't really understand how can a quarterback affect a defensive lineman on the same team. Like you're playing two different positions, but now put the quarterback, the OC, the offensive coordinator might not trust the quarterback as much. So we're running the ball a lot. We're wasting a lot of time. So now there's not that much time, and we're not putting up that many points. So we're not throwing, we're running because we don't need to score that many points. The same team, the other team is doing the same. They're running a lot. So I'm stopping the run. I'm not rushing the passer. I'm not getting sacks, which that's a lot of stats. I might get some TFLs, but it depends. And now the time is running out. I'm getting half the snaps that I was getting on a game that ended up, I don't know, 41-50 maybe, and I got a sack or two. And it's just math. Like the more snaps you get, the more plays you can make. And so it was a down year, and through the year, staying consistent, you always have this idea that you have to improve from last year. You have to do better. You have to make plays. You have to you can't go down. You can't slow down. You have to push harder. And sometimes you pressure yourself so much trying to do more than your job that you end up actually missing the plays that you should have made because you try to do extra. You're trying to make every play. You try to, And so that was tough too. And you go through and you're half of the year, so you're pressuring yourself and you're trying to do extra, and you're like, why is it not working? And it's just really just stuff that it's out of your control. And then, as you say, I got hurt another couple times. I had to skip 3 games. So you have to check your mentals pretty often.
How did you check your mental? How did you continue to push through?
I'm a pretty level guy. I live life in a philosophical way. I'm firmly convinced that everything goes the way it should. And all you can do is just give your best day in, day out, and improve yourself day in and day out. So it never really stressed me too much. And then, I have a great family behind me that never pushes me. They always say it goes up, it goes down. We're still here. You're gonna be good either way. So that was a big part of it. And as you said before, your support system is really important, especially throughout these times. And in football, it's so rare to make it where all of these players make it that there's not that many people that can really give you good advice. Like And each situation is so different. There may be a teammate that left 2 years ago going to tell you, you should leave. Another one tell you, you should stay. But their situation was so different from yours. It's so complicated.
I think that's the big thing that you just hit on right there is everybody's situation is different. And it's hard for anybody in the exact same place to give the proper advice. Another piece of that is even someone who went through the exact same situation may have experienced things differently, may have a different philosophical outlook on life, may have a different, approach, routines that they use that may not be applicable to you. So their advice is coming from their lens, not yours. And that's the challenging piece is finding someone with the kind of, empathetic qualities that can really put themselves in your shoes, understand where you're coming from, understand your outlook and perspective in life, and be able to be like, this is your options. This is what you are accustomed to doing. And this is what you're accustomed to, or your lifestyle you're accustomed to is. And this is how you should maybe approach a situation or think about it if you haven't started to think about it this way.
Yeah.
But I think you get a lot of people who just assume that they know what's best. Yeah. And that's the challenge.
That's the only thing that I might have on Pitt, which I feel like they don't really help you preparing for that jump. Like they take you there and then they like, now you gotta kind of figure it out. And it's dangerous that way because you end up in a pool of people like agents and financial advisors and trainers, which is people that all have a different view on you, a way like they try to, I want to say use you, not really use you, but yes, to make money, and everybody has their own interest in you, but it's not people with a genuine interest. So I feel like this role should be more on the shoulders of coaches and head coaches that should prepare you your last 2 years, maybe junior, senior, or maybe your third, fourth, and fifth, whatever it may be. That they help you. They make you understand the whole process. They get you closer to agents instead of pushing you away because you're going to need an agent. That's just the truth of things. Like most people don't do it themselves because it's not easy because you haven't been there before. You don't have a law degree. You don't understand it. You don't know it. So instead of pushing you away from that role continuously from that place, like you have to realize that that's your goal. That's where you're going to end up. So we should make the transition as smooth as possible rather than harder.
Yeah, that's one thing is the relationship piece of it. Obviously, like your inner circle that we just spoke about, but also the relationships with people in those positions, right? To build that connecting bridge, to understand that process more, to make it easier to go from one step to another. Because already going from college to the pros is a massive jump, a massive change, and it's a shell shock. So I agree that universities, not just Pitt, but in general, need to find a way to bridge that gap better. Bridge the relationship between players, agents, players, financial advisors, players, different trainers, nutritionists, things like that. Because every step of the way and every level that you go up, all the finer details matter. And the one thing about the agents that is really tough, because there's a lot of bad agents out there, a lot of scummy people. So in my opinion, universities should be doing everything they can to find the good ones. But to your point, even if you could represent yourself, it's, do you really want to? Do you want to put the skill and time into understanding contracts, negotiations, all the litigation that comes with it? Probably not. And so you need someone that you can trust and rely on to do those things for you. And schools should do a better job of finding the right people and building those connections. And it can just serve as a filter feeder to some of those agents as well. So they're going to be incentivized to do the right thing because they have the right people that they're working with.
Yeah, for sure. And as you know, like we were told the whole time, like don't talk to agents. Like agents are bad people. They only hear like you don't need agents and stuff like that. Which you need an agent, and creating a connection with a person just in that month or 2 months before you have to sign with them and then go to training. It's basically impossible. You're not gonna really like get to know a person in a month and be able to trust them. Like they're gonna promise you the world and then who knows?
I could talk about agents for a long time.
Yeah.
I could talk about agents for a long time. Describe to me the feeling, when you spoke to the Giants and ultimately decided to sign with them. I know a number of teams spoke to you after the draft. But what were your emotions going through that process?
Man, it was tough because, as I said, junior year was big, and then senior year my stock went down, but I was still projected to be better than what it ended up. But then nobody can give you an answer. Nobody knows what happened. Something happened somewhere in the way, in the process, whatever. And so you end up in that seventh round. You haven't signed with anybody, and received a couple calls that whatever, funny calls, and then you got to sign with a team, and it's a chaotic moment where even sometimes, like for example, your agent didn't expect you to get there, so they didn't speak to the other team and make a plan, a correct plan, and you're like, oh, where should I go? What should I think? So you gotta, in that moment, you have the team calling you. Was like, and they're like, look, you gotta give us an answer right now, or we're going to the next person. And then you have your agent there, like, hold on, we're talking to this team, so you have to make a decision. It's so hard, and so much happens in that half an hour that sometimes you end up not making the best decision because you have to consider the money, the team scheme, what is the chance. You got to look at the roster. You got to see all the people that offer you. It's tough.
How did you stay level headed through that?
I was just pissed. I was just mad as hell. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I was just sick as hell. So I was like, you know what? Whatever happens, I just do it. Just keep going.
So going from being like a, top 3 round projected draft pick to undrafted in signing, you're pissed off, you're mad at the world. How did you channel that into, you know, channel that energy into properly playing?
You see, that's another thing. Unfortunately, now that I look back at it, I feel like I didn't do a great job at it. I was just mad the whole time. I got there mad, and I was just playing and not really putting my head into it. And if I'm honest with you, at 100%, I wasn't loving football the same way that I was in college or high school. Like I was, I was just sick, trying to do the best, but not there completely with my head. So, and then,
If you could go back and give yourself advice now, what would it be?
oh, it would be relax, take it easy. Right now, a lot of stuff is not under your control. All you can control is your mentals, your grind, and you've been doing that for a really long time. So just put your head down, keep working, but relax and do it as you used to do it in college. Don't try to overdo it. Because at that point, it's tough, man. And when you make it as undrafted, there's a lot that goes to it. You have guaranteed money, but it's not the same as a drafted person. So there's like trades. There's a lot of stuff that goes underneath that. Sometimes, even if you have great play, great games or whatever, it might not go the way you want it to. Like the first game we played Detroit, I had 2 sacks, and then next game I played 10 snaps. And from being a starter for years in college, and going through all this stuff is tough. It's just hard. Like you're grinding, you're hustling, you're living alone in a hotel, dark. You can't do anything in a different city, and then you go there, you kill it. Still, it goes that way. So rough.
Are there any tangible skills that you've developed or routines that you implement now from protecting your mental and emotional and physical side that you wish you would have done, 2 years ago now?
It's that switch that everybody has to understand that now it's a job. It's not anymore college with your buddies. Like the people in the locker room, it's teammates, whatever. It's still a team sport, but now it's a job, and you're trying to take the job from somebody else that's feeding their families with it, and then there's decisions at the managerial level that it's about money and it's about people that you know that they think are better or worse. And the fact is, the truth is that there's just so many people for such few spots. There's 1,200 people, and that's where 1 inch, you feel me, or maybe 10 pounds, 1 pound can make the difference, or maybe wingspan is 82 instead of 80. Like the difference between a 4.5 and a 4.6, like it's a tenth of a second. It's you closing your eyes, like 5 inches on your vertical, stuff like that. It's insane. Like so,
So is it accepting that reality that it's a job and not the fact that people are there to develop you and care about you. It's just a job. Accepting that reality would have made that transition a little bit easier for you.
for sure. Realizing what you're there for, what's your job to do.
Do you have aspirations to make it back to the NFL?
That's always the goal, One great season away.
What's going to be the difference between you staying in the CFL and then you making it back to the NFL?
I'd say production at the end of the day. Got to produce.
What's going to lead you to better production, baby?
You know, all the things I've learned, all the things I've worked on, and the consistency of having great games, game in and game out. That consistency to show it every week, every weekend.
How are you tracking your progress this offseason? Are you using anything to measure, hey, I've gotten better in this area, or hey, I'm working on this. This is how I'm tracking that I'm getting better. Are you using anything particular?
I wouldn't say any tool. I mean, I'm measuring all the measurables, inside the gym, or the speed, the jumps and stuff like that. In terms of mine, I'm doing some cognitive skill training. I'm trying to have my nutritionist. So I still have like a little team of people that try to make me better. That's what I use.
What is the biggest challenge you're facing this off season right now?
Biggest challenge. It's the CFL off season is a little harder because it's so long. It's like 5-6 months, and you're just wherever doing whatever. So you have to stay consistent and just work without without anybody really forcing you to. You just have to work.
That's the big thing too that I think people don't realize. Even after athletics is done, nobody's there to tell you and remind you, hey, it's time to train. Hey, it's time to eat right. Hey, it's time to do all the little things. It becomes solely on you.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been a challenge for you? Or are you someone who's disciplined, or do you have to use tactics to help you stay disciplined?
That's really just the way I live. Like since I started playing in college, I understood that in order to get to where I wanted to get, I had to do everything right because I was so behind everybody. A kid coming from Italy just playing 1 year. I had to, day in and day out, from the hour I woke up to the hour I fell asleep, I had to do everything the right way. So I started just doing everything, we can say the right way, but just to make me better. Eating good, sleeping enough, not doing stupid stuff, not drinking alcohol. Like I don't drink, I don't smoke. I go out sometimes, but I still try to get my sleep in. So I'm used to do it since college times, and I didn't struggle too much. The only big difference that I noticed is that, and too, it's easier to go through it with somebody else, with your teammates or your friends, people that are doing the same thing. It's harder to push yourself and to do it by yourself. Like I still push myself, but if you have a spotter or you have like your teammate or somebody, like you're challenging each other. Like he just did, 350 pounds. I gotta do 355. You know what I mean? So it's that little competition, a little bit of
That competitive energy is contagious. It elevates everybody around you. Absolutely. So what's next, Haba? What can we expect from Habakkuk Baldonado in 2025 and 2026?
big season. Gotta go back to Canada and kill it. Nothing. Just go there, clock in, and kill it.
Heck yeah, brother. I appreciate you. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. If people want to reach out to you, they want to ask your advice, where can people find you? How can they reach out to you?
Man, hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. There's not many people with my name, so you just gotta look that name up. And you can find me, Haba, and whatever you need.
That's what's nice and unique about us is I don't think there's too many people with the last name John Off. I actually think I don't know if there is anybody outside of my family here. And then Haba, you got one of one name, baby. So
Yeah,
easy to find us. But
sure.
hey, can't thank you enough for coming on, man. Um, Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Check us out at athleticfortitude.com. Remember, stay tuned for that rebrand. The rebrand is coming soon. Same conversations, great people. Um, Download the pod, subscribe to our YouTube channel. 5 stars only, baby. Thanks, Haba.
For sure. Thank you.